August 14, 2025, Alibaba's Qwen team pushed a new model to Hugging Face with almost no fanfare. 27 billion parameters, a 262,000 token context window, Apache 2.0 license, and benchmark numbers that put it in direct competition with models 5 to 10 times its size on code generation and reasoning tasks. No press event, no waitlist, just a model card and a download link. Within hours, the open-source AI community was running it on consumer hardware and posting results. This is Qwen3.8-27B, and it matters more for what it unlocks than for what it scores. Let's be precise about performance. On LiveCodeBench and Human Evil, two widely used code generation benchmarks, Qwen3.8-27B posts scores competitive with frontier-class models according to Alibaba's published evaluations. On mathematical reasoning benchmarks like Math 500, it performs in a similar range. The caveat: these are self-reported numbers on the model card. Independent evaluations from the open-source community are still being compiled. But early third-party testing on platforms like LMSI's broadly corroborates the trend. This model punches well above its parameter count, particularly on structured reasoning and code tasks. Here's why the size matters. At 27 billion parameters, quantized to 4-bit precision, this model fits into a single consumer GPU with 24 gigabytes of VRAM. That's an RTX 4090. That's a used workstation card you can find for under $1,000. Compare that to 70 billion parameter models, which typically require either multi-GPU setups or significant CPU offloading that kills inference speed. 27 billion is arguably the largest class of model that remains practical for true local deployment on hardware an individual developer or small team can afford. It's the ceiling of the single GPU sweet spot. This channel has a separate video forthcoming on Qwen3.8 Max, Alibaba's flagship API model. They are not the same product solving the same problem. Max is a massive mixture of experts model accessed through Alibaba's cloud infrastructure, designed for peak performance, build per token, subject to terms of service. The 27B release is an open-weight model you download, run on your own hardware, and modify without restrictions. Max is the tool when you need absolute top-tier capability and can absorb API costs. The 27B is the tool when you need sovereignty over your inference pipeline, when data can't leave your machine, when you need predictable costs, or when you intend to fine-tune. The 262,000 token context window deserves its own discussion. That's roughly 500 pages of text processable in a single inference call. For local deployment, this is significant. It means a developer can feed entire code bases, full legal documents, or lengthy research corpora into the model without chunking strategies that degrade coherence. Whether the model maintains quality across the full context length is a separate question. Long context fidelity often degrades in practice, and independent needle-in-a-haystack evaluations at the full 262K range are still limited. The specification is impressive. The real-world reliability at that length remains to be fully validated. Apache 2.0. Two words that matter more than any benchmark score for a specific class of builder. This license permits unrestricted commercial use, modification, redistribution, and fine-tuning. No usage caps, no revenue thresholds, no mandatory attribution beyond what Apache requires. Compare this to Meta's Llama Community License, which historically imposed commercial restrictions above certain user thresholds, or to proprietary API terms that can change with 30 days' notice. For an indie developer shipping a product, Apache 2.0 means legal clarity. You can fine-tune this model on proprietary data, deploy it in a commercial SaaS product, and never worry about a licensing audit or a retroactive terms change. The honest framework: run this locally if you handle sensitive data that cannot leave your infrastructure. Run it locally if your inference volume is high enough that API costs become prohibitive, typically above a few thousand calls per day. Run it locally if you plan to fine-tune on domain-specific data. Use an API, whether Qwen3.8 Max or another frontier model, if you need peak capability regardless of cost, if your volume is low, or if you lack the engineering bandwidth to maintain inference infrastructure. The 27B model is not universally better or worse than an API. It's a different operational decision with different trade-offs. Qwen3.8-27B doesn't exist in a vacuum. 2025 has seen an acceleration in competitive open-weight releases from Meta, Mistral, DeepSeek, and now Alibaba, each pushing the capability frontier downward into smaller, more deployable parameter counts. The pattern is clear. The gap between open-weight models and proprietary frontier systems is narrowing, release by release. What distinguishes this particular model is the combination: strong benchmark performance at a locally deployable size, a genuinely permissive license, and an unusually large context window. No single attribute is unprecedented. The combination, at this parameter count, arguably is. The real unlock here isn't a model. It's an economic shift. When a 27 billion parameter model with frontier competitive code performance ships under Apache 2.0, the cost of building AI-native products drops meaningfully. Fine-tuning with LoRa adapters on consumer hardware becomes viable. Startups can prototype and ship without negotiating enterprise API contracts. Independent researchers can reproduce and extend results without institutional cloud budgets. What to watch next? Independent long-context evaluations, community fine-tunes on specialized domains, and whether Alibaba maintains this licensing posture as the Qwen series continues to evolve. The model is available now. The ecosystem it enables is just beginning to form.